As a child, I had polio, and I was advised by my parents were advised by the doctors not to send me to school.
They can't hear you. I think you have to sort of like kiss this mic.
Oh yeah, now I can hear myself too. No, as a child I had polio, and that is why I was not sent to school. The doctors were saying that, that will affect her nerves, she's going to get married, and she's going to have children. She's not going to become a professor or a lawyer or a doctor. Ironically, I did become a professor. But because of this, I was not sent to school. And living in Lahore as a Parsi child, not going to school, I had a lot of loneliness. So I spent most of my time, as soon as I could read, which an Anglican lady taught me how to read, I started to read, and then I lived in books and fantasies of books. So in a way, I was, lacking self-expression. I wanted to speak, I wanted to tell my story. I wanted to be alive, among people. So I think I wrote it primarily out of the sort of silences of my life. And once I started writing, I could not stop. I just loved it. Yeah.
So is there somewhere in dusty attic in Lahore, a whole pile of juvenilia that we might see one day? Are there stories you wrote when you were a child?
No, the first book I ever wrote was The Pakistani Bride, and it was published, it became a novel. I thought I would write a short story. It was based on my honeymoon experience, a story I heard in the tribal areas of Pakistan there. And as I was writing, I thought I'd write a short story, but then I realized this little girl was found in the mountains there. She must have had heavens. How did she find herself in the mountains with the old tribesmen? So in creating all of that, suddenly I found myself writing a novel, and it became the first novel, first piece of anything I ever wrote, really. Yeah.
But it's an astonishingly, how should I say, assured work, The Pakistani Bride. For me, I don't know why Crow Eaters seems to be like Crow Eaters was the first book we read here. So anyway, if Pakistani Bride is the first, it's an extremely assured piece of writing.
I'm just very lucky. Because it's an enormous quantity of reading I did, I think I subconsciously, unconsciously learned story structure, how to create dialogue, how to create suspense. And then I did teach in America quite a bit, and I discovered that it is mainly because of a gift. You have to have a certain amount of gift to be able to write. You can't just read and say, okay, I write, but not everybody can. Because I saw a lot of students who, if they did not have the gift to tell a story, were not able to do it. So I was lucky in that it was a combination of a gift and a quantity of reading. And The Crow Eaters was published first. Because it was self-published. Yeah. And because nobody, when I wrote, it was before all those people, and nobody had, my books were sent to Britain and America, and agents, and everybody said, oh, who's heard of Pakistan? Who wants to read about Pakistan and India? And it took a very long time. So a friend of ours, who is Allama Iqbal's son, the great poet, his son, he said, why don't you self-publish? So we self-published with Ilmi Press, his Urdu press, which didn't even know how to write or care. We all got scolarized, tried to write that book. And then the most humiliating part was going from shop to shop and saying, these are ye pesh karni kitab, So he said, naam kaise likha hai aapne? Crow Eaters kitab. So we tried to do that.
And then this seems to have been like, the heroic struggle that many people, many Indian authors and subcontinental authors, poets especially, seem to have gone through publishing their own work in the absence of any interest. So what was the first one that went out into the world? Was that
The first one which went out into the world was definitely the Crow Eaters, because somebody knew Kushwant Singh, and they sent the manuscript to Kushwant Singh, and he was very strange and very funny, you know. He was living in a flat in Bombay, and he looked down at me and he said, "Oh, you're 1 hour late. I don't even see anybody who's 5 minutes late. But because you've written a good book, I'll let you come."
were you 1 hour late?
I was 1 hour late.
You're a Parsi, and you were Wadani.
Punjabi Parsi, yeah, but Punjabi.
Joking.
Anyway, he shocked me by, there was a very gorgeous looking, about 40-year-old Indian woman. I was much younger then. And he says, she was Monica Gandhi's mother. I don't know if I should say this.
Go ahead.
And he said,
Monica Gandhi's mother in Kushwant Singh's room.
and he said, "Oh, you know, she's much more bettable than her daughter." And I was quite shocked. I thought, what on earth is he talking about, you know? But that I discovered later on is Kushwant Singh, typical Kushwant Singh.
You know, Kushwant Singh, I'm working on Adil Jasawala's Selected Prose, and he records that Kushwant Singh flirted with his mother as well, with Adil Jasawala's mother. So I think Kushwant Singh just flirted with everybody that moved across the horizon at one point or the other. But tell me something, Bapsi, you know, in Bombay and in India's literary world, there is something very definitely called the Parsi novel. You know, the Rohingya mystery, Cyrus mystery. There are a whole bunch of people who've written them and written them beautifully. Even I think Baumgartner's Bombay has, Anita Desai's Baumgartner's Bombay has a Parsi character. Is there, do you feel, you must have been the lone voice in the for the Pakistani Parsi, no?
No, I was the lone voice of the world Parsi community. It is only after I wrote The Crow Eaters that people felt they had the permission to write about Parsis. Otherwise, this is what Vikram Seth told me, what Salman Rushdie told me. They'd never written about Parsis before then, you know. And Rohingya Mystery wrote almost 10 years after I wrote The Crow Eaters. So, you know, it gave them a platform to write on. Then, you know, there was that deformed little boy. Yeah. He also said, you know, that after I read The Crow Eaters, I felt, oh, we are worth writing about, you know. So it gave rise to this Parsi literature in a way.
No, that's why also when you're reading Crow Eaters, there's a very strong sense of actually laying out the turf, no? Because you describe the Tower of Silence, the British gave it that name.
Right.
You describe how there's a certain prayer that is said before you set out on a journey to the angel with weapons who will protect you, etc., etc. Lovely things like that, Mobails, names like that. That first came back to us, you know, retrieved from conversation. So, do you feel now that there's just too many Parsis in storming the literary bastions?
No. And there'll never be too many. We'll be too few in the world for that to happen.
I always say there's one novel for every living Parsi.
Yeah, I think you're certainly right a lot about all of them.
Now, in their language of love, you actually come clean by saying in the end that many of these things have been almost like off-cuts from the novels, that this didn't work in that novel, so you saw. But tell me, what was the process like when you identify something that you think, okay, that's not working there? How do you know whether this could be like a short story? We're taking a tea break here.
Yeah, okay. I think you can all have your tea break.
No, they all